Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to Elevenses with the reps at Diesel Bookstore. We are happy to see you and happy to be here today. We get together every Wednesday here in our little safe book space, and we meet with our publishers' representatives and our booksellers, and we talk about everything that's new, upcoming, recently released that our professionals want you to know about so that you can add to your pile and be sort of in the know, first to know about a lot of these books. It's very exciting. We have fun every week and we go down all kinds of book tangents and we have a great time. And we're going to post links to all of the books we talk about today in the chat area so you can just click on those later and order them at your leisure because I know you're going to get excited. We've got some really, really great books to talk about today. But before we get to that, and before I introduce everybody, I want to just tell you what's going on at the store. First of all, before I say that, thanks everybody for coming out. We had a really fabulous weekend with the inaugural LA book crawl. We've been doing it in San Diego for, I don't know how many years now, a few. And it's just the most fun weekend. And LA decided to get on board and do the book crawl and made it work. And it was just a huge success. So if you joined us there on the book crawl for the first time, or if Diesel is your neighborhood store, thanks for coming out. And, let's keep it going. And this is what we're doing to keep it going. Some events coming up over the next week. We have tonight at the store, Mack and Jennifer Kaufman discussing and signing The Kings of Vegas. That is going to be 6:30 p.m. at Diesel this evening, tonight. And then coming up on Thursday, tomorrow, which will already be the 30th of July. I cannot believe it. Beth and Boyd Morrison discussing and signing Duel of Beasts. And that is from Tales of the Lawless Land number 4. That's going to be tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. And then rounding it out for the week on Tuesday, Garcia and Gabriel Picolo discussing and signing Teen Titans Together. That's going to be at the store 6 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, not at the store. That is an event that is going to be at the Santa Monica Public Library, the Martin Luther King Jr. Auditorium on Santa Monica Boulevard at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. That is going to be August 4th. Wow, we're really flying ahead. So all of those further information about all of those events are on the website, dieselbookstore.com, along with events into the future, into the summer. So check that out as well. All right, who is here today? Let me tell you. We have Tom Benton from Penguin, Brittany Greenway from Macmillan, and happy to see you, Brittany. We don't get to see you a lot, so thank you for being here. And Patricia Nelson from Princeton University Press. Thank you for being here, Patricia. Let's just get started, shall we? Brittany, why don't you lead us off?
Sure.
Brittany was not expecting to go first.
I don't normally go first. When you said August 4th, my cat looked up at me.
I know. What is happening? Tom and I were talking about this, how time seems to have sped up and slowed down simultaneously. It's very event horizon-y, I have to say.
He just seemed very perplexed that a different voice was saying his name, so I thought you would appreciate that. Okay, so my first book that I want to talk about today is a children's picture book. It is called Leroy Has Something to Say. Leroy Has Something to Say came out earlier this summer, and it is just the most charming friendship story that I've seen in a while. So it came out on July 7th. It has just absolutely stunning artwork. I love this color palette. It's summery and green, but it is something that I think will bridge nicely into fall because Leroy is a ghost and he lives in a house that is, haunted by him. In the vein of someone like Casper. He's a very friendly ghost and all he wants to do is tend to his garden and have a friend. And then this new family moves in and one of the children is nonverbal and she also wants to have a friend and someone that she can connect with. And she ends up connecting with Leroy. And It's just really beautiful and warm. It's got fantastic representation, and yeah, it's just lovely. And I hope everybody loves it too.
We've been talking, I think, every single week in July, we have had some sort of Halloween type related book, kids book, and then across a broad spectrum of publishers reps because, well, Julia has, I would say, spearheading this because she says, and rightly so, that's it now. Halloween starts in July, and she doesn't make the rules, and that's it. And so we've had, and then we've had a lot of discussions about how why these appeal to kids so much, like the scary stories and although it's like scary light. It's not really, it's ghosts, but it's sort of on the light version. And they do, kids love it. I think last week we had a book about a friendly skeleton and a cat. And this is really sweet. And I remember Casper from eons ago and the concept of a friendly ghost. And I think it has sort of broader implications about, making friends with like different people or, like imaginary friends, all of these kinds of things. So it's a very sweet, beautiful art too. Very
Yes.
sweet book. And we're just gonna roll right into it. We're gonna go from July just right through. No, we're just gonna do it year round. Never mind. Forget it. We're just gonna do it. Thanks, Brittany. All right, Patricia, what is your first book?
So I'm changing the vibe here, I guess, to serious and scary, a masterly and timely book, as the TLS called it, published in May of 2025, Vali Nasser's Iran's Grand Strategy, A Political History. This is now out in paper with a new foreword and remains just incredibly relevant and front table. This is a book making the stark claim that the West's understanding of Iran's approach is hopelessly inadequate and dangerously outdated. The West still looking at Iran through the prism of the 1979 revolution and the central role of religion and the clergy playing in it. It looks at the horrific sequence of events unfolding since October 2023, reshaping the Middle East and Iran as a central part of this jigsaw, this chessboard, this dramatic reconfiguration. It gives us an overarching idea of a grand strategy of resistance. Just to give an idea of how much this book remains at the front, Nasser had a major op-ed in the Financial Times this week saying that the Iranian regime is engaged in an existential battle, willing to bet its ability to endure greater pain, giving it an advantage at the negotiating table. The Guardian this week had quite a remarkable roundup of the U.S. stuck in a conflict with no easy way out, and interviewing Nasser, saying the U.S. is now in a situation where it either has a long and protracted war or keeps escalating to the next level. And finally, Foreign Affairs will publish in the July-August issue a major essay by Vali Nasser and his colleague Arjus Bajoli. She's also a colleague at Johns Hopkins, again on Iran's new grand strategy, and above all saying that Iran is defined less by ideology than by nationalism, less by revolution than by statecraft, less by clerical charisma than by the confidence and technocratic ethos of a new officer class. In no way does this mean that they aren't also could be quite brutal to their own people as they destabilize the international order. So a book to read if you want to know what's on the chessboard and have a little bit more background. The background is deep here. The book calls on memoirs, oral histories, in-depth interviews, Iranian decision makers. It's amazing for a book to stay in the spotlight for a year, but this one is dead center. Thanks.
When I was really intrigued when I saw you were going to talk about this book, Patricia, because I wanted to have a little bit more background on it. And I haven't read it, but it sounds absolutely fascinating. And I think for good reason, staying in the spotlight this long. And I read a couple of the articles that you were talking about earlier in The Guardian. And I do think that I think people want to have a deeper understanding because everything is so obfuscated, And I think if you want to go a little bit deeper and really have an understanding, beyond like headlines and sort of pronouncements and just the daily barrage of kind of social media feed type articles and memes, whatever, then you have to dig a little deeper because it's not right there, and I think having a deeper understanding is like critical at this point.
I think people have a deeper intuitive understanding. I think, the big muddy, we get it, and we've been there before. And there's a whole range of op-ed in many, many papers. I read a lot of articles, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and all of them are giving out a very, very similar feeling to Nasser. I'm sure that they've read him, and the sense that we've been extremely precipitous and naive. And so if all of this is troubling, and we want to know where we're going to be by Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I think naive is generous term for anyway. But really an excellent book. Thank you, Patricia. Ton.
Okay, so I love prizes. I love lists, and we just started the prize season as far as I'm concerned, because the Booker long list was released yesterday, and it's a great day for Riverhead. River had three books on the list, including the first book I want to talk about, which is All Them Dogs by Djamel White, which we published a few months ago. And it's so exciting to see it now now it's going to be paid attention to the way it should have been from the very beginning. So this is Irish noir, like dark, absolutely compelling Irish noir. So it's about Tony Ward, who is from West Dublin, but he had to, lie low in England after a murder 5 years ago. He's come back to West Dublin for better or worse, probably most likely worse. And he goes to work for the local crime boss. And of course, he grew up in this neighborhood, so everyone knows each other. And he's really it's a coming of age story. He's trying to find himself in this dark world. And then he finds himself attracted to the crime boss, to this other man. So it's about masculinity. It's about him discovering who he is in this unforgiving, terrifying world. So his sexuality, he's coming to terms with his sexuality in a world that maybe doesn't accept, what he's feeling. So it's you cannot put it down. So it's a thriller at its heart, but really it's a profound look at, as I said, masculinity. And then this place. Djamel White was definitely influenced by The Wire. So the easy description, if you love The Wire, this is the Wire of West Dublin. Just an incredible voice. And he has the author has a great backstory. He dropped out of high school, was a tattoo artist, and then he went back and got his creative writing degree and, transformed his life. So I love that this book, this award, this long list, not the award, but the long list, the attention that comes with that will continue the transformation of this young writer. And it's amazing that it's a debut because it has such force, such control of the narrative. The Booker Prize, in their description of it, called it a mouthy, ballsy, and bracingly unsentimental portrait of West Dublin gangland, set well off the beaten track of the city's usual literary landmarks. That is certainly true. This is a part of Dublin we've never read before. And I also want to call out the editor at Riverhead, Jake Morrissey, who acquired and edited All Them Dogs, because he has 2 books on the Booker long list. He also edits Marlon James, whose book The Disappearers will be published September 1st. We will talk much about that as we get closer. And but what a great day for Jake. I mean, incredible. And I also, on the Jake Morrissey front, I highly recommend a podcast he does with Marlon James called Marlon and Jake Read Dead People, where they talk about books by dead people, and they both have very strong, very informed, fascinating opinions about all sorts of books. So, but back to All Them Dogs, really excited to see it now get the attention that it deserves.
Yeah, he's only 28. He's the youngest definitely on the list, and of course debut. I am so excited to read this book. It's also not a particularly long book either.
No, and it flies by. You can't put
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I think The Irish Wire is like a great way of.
What more do you
And
need? Yes.
yeah, and the reviews, the reviews are stunning. Am I a Booker snob? I don't know, but it always seems like the Booker nominated books, long and short list, are always books that I like personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm always excited to see the list. This is a wild list this year, but congratulations to Riverhead.
Yes, absolutely. And the judges range from our own Patricia Lockwood to the chair is Mary Beard. So it's like a range.
Yeah.
I would like to be in there for their discussions of these books.
I know, right? I read, of course, I can't remember where now, but I read a really an interesting piece. I wish I could find it. Joey will probably find it. He's good at that. It wasn't that long ago, but it was about judging what it's like to actually judge one of these things, like a literary prize, and what happens, and it was fascinating to read. Anyway, Joey, there's your challenge for the day. Thank you, Tom. So excited about this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, back to you, Brittany.
Okay, so man, what a tough one to follow. My next one's so like opposite. So
that's what we do here, though. Something for everybody.
All right, so I want to talk about Sea of Charms by Sarah Beth Durst. This is the third book in the Spell Shop series, and it's basically just a cozy fantasy / romance series. I like to think of it as if a Hallmark movie and Shrek got kind of mashed together. It's got this sort of charming, sweet, cozy feel to it, but then there's like magical creatures and a little bit of humor and some adventure and some romance all mixed in. And so the series is really fun. They're all standalones in an interconnected world, so you can pick them up in any order and you don't have to worry about having missed something from the last book. And in this one, they've taken us to sea, and we're on a magical ship, and the main character, her crew, is like a sea serpent and a shrub, and it's ridiculous and fun. And I think anyone who enjoys the series is going to love this edition, and I think anyone who's looking for something to just kind of put themselves into an easy world where it's fun and light and fluffy and everybody has a happy ending, Sea of Charms. Check it out.
I actually like the contrast between this and All Them Dogs. It's a nice counterpoint. It looks delightful, a delightful escape, and like just, what the doctor ordered for, like an afternoon when you just want to like
unplug from the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And sail away kind of a thing. That's a really aspirational type of cover over there. Like it looks very much like a place where I would want to be enjoying. And also, I appreciate that you can enter the series at any point. That's great. And I think that makes it much more accessible to people as well. So, and it looks like a really nice sort of like collector edition as well with the sprayed edges and
all of the hardcovers in this series are really pretty. They've always had the whole, extra jazzy sprayed edges and stuff. They've even done it for the paperbacks. We're in the midst of making the books really pretty over at Tor.
Yeah.
People seem to really like it.
It's a great idea, actually. I had, mixed feelings about it in the beginning when it was first starting, but as time goes by and more, yes, let's make pretty books. Let's make them like collectible objects that people want to have and buy and, with like nice covers and, I'm all for it. I think it's great. So, yeah. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
All right, Patricia, back to you.
So a new and spectacular and beautiful book by Laura McPhee. It's called Silence, So Deep It Rings, A Desert Chronicle. The book has a kind of scale. We have some pictures shown, but none of them are double. And this would be one of the spreads that covers the entire book. I'll show you one other before talking about it. So Laura McPhee is a gorgeous Western photographer. I've sold her before for Yale years ago. This book comes out of her experience of Western land. And to me, it feels like Avedon's portraits. If you remember American West, think of the land as those worn faces full of experience. She has been photographing in the Great Basin for 2 decades, Nevada, Utah, parts of California, Idaho, Oregon, Wyoming, a land that is geologically beautiful, is harshly marked with environmental destruction, extractive industries, mining, timber, harvesting, nuclear testing. And now I think all of us are aware of the threats of new data centers in a vulnerable landscape. I certainly was hearing that from my buyers in around Salt Lake. And of course, here, not part of the geography of this particular book, but drilling threats to sacred lands, as all of New Mexico is urging you to make comments in the brief window allowed by our government to protect Chaco. Laura McPhee uses a Deerdoff, an 8x10 camera, so huge, powerful, deep images that record layered meaning in landscape. She looks for evidence of settler empire, of indigenous people, of human endeavor. It's a scarred, powerful, beautiful, Western, big sky landscape that just opens your heart. She's deeply familiar with 19th century survey photographs and with a contemporary practice of Western landscape. And this also includes her own adopted Idaho home and her family's history. And what is that history? She is the daughter of John McPhee, and McPhee's writings from Basin and Range are part of this book. And there's also a wonderful interview with Ian Fraser, talking to both Laura McPhee and John McPhee. And so that's kind of an added bonus in the book. Then one comment from Laura McPhee is one of the things an 8x10 camera lends itself to, looking at things in a slow, careful way, because normally we don't see quite like that. The image contains more detail that you can take in at a glance. And she talks about a close photograph of a windmill that had caught Ian Fraser's attention, her own father's text, and just what we see when we see through her eyes, which is pretty wonderful. It's a book I've been waiting for. It's really wonderful. It speaks to my heart. It speaks to my territory, which is 12 Western states. And I'm excited about it.
As I think you should be. It's gorgeous. What a gorgeous book. I've always had this fascination for desert landscapes and desert the culture, and this is just a gorgeous panoramic book, absolutely beautiful, and captures the magic and the mystery and all of the, it's easy to think about, well, we all live in the desert here, so so we know. But I think it's easy for those not in the know to think of the desert as just sort of being flat and, dry. But there's so much happening in the desert all the time. So
Brings a variation. You have the Borrego, and I can remember years ago laughing at the cover a publisher put on the mystery novel Los Alamos with some saguaro cactus. We had to say no.
That's a
Sorry,
big one.
not here. And this
That's a big one. Always. Let's stick to practice in the middle of whatever it is.
And,
the desert.
All of the Great American Desert has all of these flavors of the West, and so this book gives you some particular places to dwell in that might be different from our own deserts or familiarity, but expand that. I've always loved that about the West. It has so much texture.
Yeah, it's alive. It really is. Thank you, Patricia. I mean, for now, it's alive for now, right?
We're going for it.
Sorry, voice of doom. All right, Tom.
Okay. My next book is The Frenchmen, or My Life in Theory by Emily Eakin. So I was completely taken with this book from page one. I don't have a background in theory, but I completely fell for this. It's a coming of age memoir, really, but told through the lives of the Frenchmen. So when Emily Eakin got to Harvard, she was from Bloomington, Indiana. Now her father was a college professor, so probably wasn't a huge shock to her when she got to Harvard that these philosophers like Damon, Foucault, Barthes, Derrida were all the rage. But she would go up to a freshman at Harvard and say, "What are you studying?" And she would think that would be studying literature, but no, it was theory, and it was kind of a shorthand for a glamorous world of intellectuals and wisdom, a way into language being unstable, and the self is an illusion, and all these things. So it's it's her own story of coming through that and out the other side. At the same time, she's telling super fascinating the stories of these men, and they were all men who lived these. They didn't believe in biography. Biography was not something we should ever focus on when we're in our texts. But the biographies here are fascinating because they're filled with sex, crime, all kinds of things that these men were doing.
Drugs, lots of drugs.
Yes, for sure. So it's a wild, entertaining, very funny, super smart ride. I loved every minute of being in this world, even though I don't really have strong connections to any of these people, but they're all there, starting with Sartre. And it's also fun to see each one take down the generation before. Like, that's very important to take down the beloved philosopher before. But how unlikely that these philosophers would become, have this kind of sway. And yet, as she also talks about, their influence continues, even if it's not in the same, kind of obsessive way on campuses, but the effects of deconstruction, all these ideas, we still feel. But I just want to emphasize how entertaining this book is. The New York Times, calls it a marvelous book. It's gossipy and personal and completely fascinating, which is exactly what you hope for with this particular bunch of thinkers. I think if you liked the novel The Idiot by Elif Batuman, you will love this book. And so many readers love The Idiot. This is for you. Same publisher, actually, same editor at Penguin Press.
Okay, I have to read this book. Like, I have to read this book. I have to read this book now, like this minute. I need this book in my life. This could be my story, although somebody else has told it. But like all of these Frenchmen, I mean, this was my experience as well, right? And it was so unbelievably, it was frustrating, and Derrida, I almost had I was like, help me, somebody,
Yes.
get me out of this net. And then I found out later, like, all of these things. I mean, I actually encountered him a few times in different contexts where I had to try to, and I thought I had it figured out for 5 minutes, and then it went away. And then I found out that he was just a gigantic pot smoker, and I'm like,
There
okay,
you
the
go. Yeah.
context. Anyway, I just have to read this book. I can see already that this is going to be
for you. For
a
sure.
very healing book for me. So I'm going to have to read it. Excellent. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, really great.
All right, Brittany, why don't you start off our last round of the day?
Yes, of course. Sorry. Of course, my cat chooses this moment to be just a menace. So running around. All right. So my last one is the Marigold Cottage Murder Collective in paperback. This one came out last year. I wanted to circle back around on it now that it's out in paperback because it is the first in a new series. It's set in Santa Barbara, and it is just really fun. And, we talked earlier about August is just around the corner. And so I think we're starting to pivot more towards fall and the idea of Halloween and all of that. But summer's not over. We've still got another month left. We can enjoy summer stories. We can enjoy things that are set in beach towns and, all of that. So it's just a good time. The characters are fun. They're interesting. I think that it could really appeal to anyone who enjoys the television show Only Murders in the Building, or if you like Finley Donovan and that style of kind of cozy, sort of zany mystery. And I like it because it's not just the main character who's a little offbeat and interesting. It's the whole like collective of people. It's got that really fun extended cast of characters, and there's always someone or something lingering in the background that's catching your attention. So I'd love to see the paperback get some love, and then maybe people will want to read book 2 and kind of continue with the series.
Great idea. I love the Only Murders in the Building. I'm seeing a lot of that kind of book, and what I love about them is that is the focus on character, and the offbeat kind of character, and there's some neurodivergent characters also kind of finding their way into these kinds of mysteries as well, and it's just a lot of fun in addition to the essential mystery of it all. So
got a lot of nosy neighbor activity, and I love a nosy neighbor. Maybe it's because I grew up in the Midwest and that's all I know. It's just fun to see it like on page as well, because it just makes it more real. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood where everybody was always in each other's business, so it feels really great when that gets worked well into plots of books as well.
I mean, are there neighborhoods where that doesn't happen? Maybe.
I mean, at least where I am now, I don't really know my neighbors, which is very strange because everybody knew everything about me when I was a kid.
Fun book, a great late summer read. Thanks, Brittany. All right, Patricia.
Well, I am doing spectacular psychedelic botany now. I just got a copy of this book, and it's so heavy, but I'm going to heave it upward. Sacred Plants of the Americas is the name of this spectacular and heavy and gorgeous book. Here are the end papers. Just to give you an idea of a page spread, this particular one looks at angels, trumpets, and includes historical photographs, indigenous photographs, and botanical. Probably easier to look at it this way. So this is a book about the transformative world of sacred plants, of ayahuasca, of psilocybin, of tobacco, of sweetgrass. But it does so in a new and spectacular way using confocal plant microscopy. So these photographs that you are seeing that are the intense close-ups are a kind of in-depth laser photograph revealing the interior structure of the plant. They're inspired, and the word microcosm was the name of the British edition of this book, and is a central concept, this extremely microscopic view of an entire world. It's a vegetal portrait, it's a biomorphic form, and it has antecedents in something like Robert Hooke's first microscope images, Goethe's Metamorphosis of Plants. We all love Ernst Haeckel's wonderful, I still have Dover books of his images. Kandinsky, Miro, and Paul Klee are also mentioned. It's also a book about indigenous wisdom keepers. Robin Wall Kimmerer, of course, appears in the sweetgrass section. And here, I think we're looking at peyote on this spread. It looks at psychedelic experience, like Michael Pollan. It's interested in Native American and Mesoamerican culture in particular, shamanism, ethnobotany, anthropology, and plant science. It just has a wonderful and spectacular look. It has a very wide range, of course, marijuana, but also white sage, for example, again, sweetgrass, tobacco, and this sense of a miraculous interior life of sacred plants. It's a huge and gorgeous book.
Patricia, I love your plant books so much. Your flower books and your plant books, all of them are so gorgeous. This is another dimension as well. And that the peyote, yes, that's exactly how it should look under a microscope. I could actually stare at this for long periods of time, even not, under the influence of those plants, because the structures that you see underneath in all of these, they're such beautiful microscopic color and structure that you're not aware of. So that's just really an added bonus, I think, and just in addition to it being just a gorgeous book, but I think seeing underneath the surface, beautiful. All of you had the color book was amazing, and all of
the back of that book, it's really over the top. Sometimes when they actually live, I'm like, oh, really? Oh my gosh. Like, I kind of look at the dimensions and the number of color plates and think, okay, I got an idea. But
Gorgeous,
It
gorgeous
surpassed,
book.
yeah.
Well, and what a great gift idea as well. So this is one of those you get and put aside, for a gift later.
I think it has
for
its
sure.
market. Yeah.
Thanks, Patricia. All right, Tom, let's wrap it up for the day.
Okay, so on Elevenses, we get to talk about brand new books, but I love talking about old favorites. And so that's what I'm going to do now with Mark Kurlansky's Salt. So it's called Salt, A World History. So I don't know if it's true or not, but I think of Mark Kurlansky creating this genre of micro histories, starting with Cod. Cod was first, and then he followed that up with Salt in 2000. And it was a bestseller. I mean, you cannot help but be fascinated by the salt in history and how it played a role in wars, in creating civilizations. It has played a role. It is so important, and he really brought that out. And Kurlansky is a great just scholar of food, great writer, and Salt is a classic. So why am I talking about it today? It's because over the last 2 weeks, there is young influencer on, I guess, Instagram. I missed it, but we started to see the results. So he posted about this book, a really entertaining video about his obsession with the book Salt, how he can't go anywhere, go to any party, any gathering without dropping salt facts. He's completely obsessed, which we've all done. Like we've all read a book where suddenly that's all we can talk about because it's just, there's so much new stuff to us. And so he did this video and it truly went viral. We felt it. I don't know if we knew, we probably didn't know. The publisher is like, what is happening? We're selling a lot of salt. All of a sudden we better do a reprint. So that was, we reprinted the book. We're getting it back out into the world, into stores. And I love this, I don't love everything about the internet and Instagram and social media, but this is fantastic to introduce a whole new, many generations, almost 25 years later to this great book. So some of the salt facts you might drop. Romans salted their greens, believing this to counteract the natural bitterness, which is the origin of the word salad. It's salt. The Latin word sal became the French word solde, meaning pay, which is the origin of the word soldier. The aging of cheese is a matter of its slow absorption of salt. It takes 2 years for the salt to reach the center of a wheel of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. So the book is filled with these, incredible, facts. It's just fun. You feel smarter after having read it. Back in the day, Anthony Bourdain called it a must-have for any serious cook or foodie. Washington Post. This is a wow book. Roving, startling, engaging. So books never go out of fashion. Books are books. If you haven't read it, now it's new to you, and you will love it. And thank you, Wyatt Durman. I now follow him, whoever he is. He's a fun hang in Paris right now. I don't know if he's always in Paris, but he's the one who set all this in motion. His video now has 10,000 comments and growing every day. I think he's creating a whole community around maybe not just salt, maybe reading books like this. So you go, Wyatt. So that's Salt by Mark Kurlansky, and the Penguin deep in the Penguin backlist, truly a Penguin classic.
It is. We've had this continuously at Diesel. We've never not had it. It's just an evergreen title. It's a fantastic. Salt facts are really great to throw out there. Also, I was sure you were going to talk about the salt because people were paid in salt because it was so precious, and that's the origin of the word salary.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, which I think of every time.
They're endless, the salt facts.
They are. The salt, salt is, it's elemental, right? So, like, wow, what a great idea. So it's never disappeared, I think, but it's great that it's back. I was really excited you were going to talk about it.
I know, and it wouldn't surprise me.
I read your updates, Tom, and I saw.
Oh, good. Oh, you saw Wyatt. And of course, I'm completely clueless. I'm like, what is happening? Why is everyone reordering salt? And then I get a load of that video, and it was really fun. This guy.
It's a great book. It's in my library, and it should be in every. And it did did kind of kick off this kind of trend, didn't it?
I think
Of
it did.
the
Yeah.
yeah. All right, excellent. Thank you, Tom, and thank you everybody for bringing such exceptional books to talk about today. I'm very excited about all of them. I have, books I'm going to read in the next half hour. I'm very excited about all of these books, and I hope you are too. And so thank you so much for joining us today, Brittany Greenway from Macmillan, Patricia Nelson from Princeton University Press, and Tom Benton from Penguin. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joey, for posting all the beautiful spreads and the covers. And hopefully I haven't looked at the comments, but hopefully you found that article as well. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Today, we're going to be back again. We'll be back again next week we will have more reps. We'll have more books to talk about and more fun to be had. So hope you will come back and join us then. In the meantime, everybody, try to stay cool. That's just going to be my refrain, I think, for the next, until whenever. And happy reading, everybody. We'll see you next week.